It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today it will be all about the Indianapolis Colts as we take a look at the upcoming 2021 NFL season. We'll look at some training camp quick hits, some reasons for optimism, as well as some causes for concern, in addition to our positional breakdowns on both sides of the ball. But first, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Colts season as we go into our 4-minute offense. New year, new quarterback as the Indianapolis Colts 2020 starter Philip Rivers retired, and they made the move to get another former first-round pick in Carson Wentz from the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Wentz is looking to get his career back on track in Indy as it sort of got off the rails in Philadelphia. Now, we've seen Wentz have success in the league before, most recently the 2019 season where his play down the stretch actually helped get the Eagles into the playoffs, and we've seen him at his worst, which was last season. In all honesty, the truth lies somewhere in between when talking about his game. The Colts hope that surrounding him with a stable situation that'll help him find his consistency that he had in 2017 as well as 2019, which would mean that the Colts will find themselves in the playoffs once again this upcoming season. Also this offseason, the Colts promoted QB coach Marcus Brady to offensive coordinator, which was a position he held in the Canadian Football League with the Toronto Argonauts for a long time. Now, he's been working with the Colts QBs since 2018, but it's the experience in the CFL, to me, that's the most critical, because the Canadian game is all about maximizing attempts while getting the quarterback to play both loose and free. And that's exactly what a guy like Carson Wentz needs, as his time in Philly, it seemed as though he was playing a little bit too tense, which led to mistakes. Also, the Canadian game takes advantage of QBs that have mobility, which Carson has. So I'm excited to see how Brady can merge the two games and help transform what could be potentially an explosive offense in 2021. For the second time in 4 years, the Indianapolis Colts doubled down on pass rushers in the NFL draft. Back in 2018, they went with Taquan Lewis and Kamoko Toure, and this past April, it was Kwity Paye out of Michigan and Dayo Odeyingbo out of Vanderbilt with their first two picks. Now, sandwiched in between that was a 2019 selection of Ben Banogu out of TCU in the second round. Now, they've been trying to find a difference maker coming off the edge, but haven't been able to accomplish that goal. And the hope is that Paye can be the type of impact guy they've coveted for quite some time, as Odeyingbo will probably get a redshirt year as he's coming off of a torn Achilles suffered during the run-up to the NFL draft. But the point is, they have to get this position right, and they hope that they got it right with their 2 picks this past draft. One of the biggest free agent signings of this offseason for the Colts was bringing in Eric Fisher, the former first-round pick of the Kansas City Chiefs. He missed the Super Bowl with an injury, but should be fine for the start of the season. He is expected to step in for the retired Anthony Costanzo at left tackle and help the Colts from making a tough decision of moving Quentin Nelson to left tackle or starting the season with a question mark at the position. If Fisher can prove to be healthy and ready to go from week 1, then this offensive line shouldn't miss a beat in 2021. Carson Wentz finds himself in what should be a familiar situation, being reunited with head coach Frank Reich, who coached him in Philadelphia. He also lands in a really good situation offensively with a great offensive line, strong run game, and an abundance of receiving options. And with a clear mind, he should be able to reach his lofty personal goals and the goals of the team. And we've never really seen Wentz compete in the playoffs, as the one time he made it with Philadelphia, he got injured pretty early against Seattle. If all things hold up, he should get that opportunity this season. Backing him up will be where things are a bit more interesting, as we'll see second-year player Jacob Eason, rookie Sam Ehlinger out of Texas, and free agent signing Jalen Morton compete for that QB2 role on the roster. Now, both Eason and Morton have legit cannons, while Ehlinger is coming off of a highly decorated career with the Texas Longhorns and gives them that sort of moxie that a lot of teams want at the position. The stable of backs is packed here in Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor is coming off of a stellar rookie season that saw him nearly crack 1,200 yards rushing. He provides the perfect blend of both power and speed while also showing an ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Look for him to be a consistent 1,000-yard plus type guy for a decade. He pairs up perfectly with Nyheim Hines, who's one of my favorite players in the league. He's a stellar prospect or player in his own right, able to do damage as a runner, receiver, and also as a returner. He knows how to put the ball in the paint as he scored touchdowns all three ways in his career. Getting back Marlon Mack from injury should help bolster the depth and explosiveness of this unit, and Jordan Wilkins is a solid reserve but will have to fight off some up-and-comers in Benny LeMay, the speedy Darius Anderson out of TCU, and undrafted rookie free agent Deion Jackson out of Duke, whose style actually fits the type of back that they look for here in Indianapolis. I'm very excited about the potential of this receiving core for the Colts. Expect a breakout year for Michael Pittman Jr. as he started to come on late in the season and into the playoffs with a really good performance. T.Y. Hilton is still the guy opposing teams game plan for, and he's looking to get back to his 1,000-yard ways, which have eluded him since 2018. The team hopes that third-year wideout Paris Campbell can finally stay healthy and provide that blistering speed on the inside. He's in sort of a make-or-break year this season with the Colts because of his inability to stay healthy. It has allowed Zach Pascal to blossom into a reliable threat within the passing game as he finished second on the team in receiving yards and tied for first in receiving touchdowns with 5. But keep an eye out on two rookies here, and Mike Strachan out of the University of Charleston and Tyler Vaughns, the undrafted rookie free agent out of USC, as they are impressive talents that have game-breaking potential. And I will be looking to see how the role increases for Ashton Doolin this season, as he's very similar to that of Strachan, tall, explosive wideouts that can play above the rim. Now, Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox give them two solid options at tight end, and rookie Kylan Granson reminds me a lot of Trey Burton in the sense that he's a move option at the position that can win one-on-one matchups. He'll find a way onto the field this season, along with second-year player Noah Togiai out of Oregon State, who was more of a blocker last year, but definitely has some receiving chops. This is one of the strongest units in the division and arguably in the NFL. Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, and Braden Smith are as strong of a trio there is in the league. Look for Braden Smith to garner All-Pro honors this year, in my opinion. And if Eric Fisher can go, he eliminates a worry at the left tackle spot. If not, expect free agent signing Sam Tevi or Julian Davenport, who started a lot of games, to compete for that role initially. The other slight question is probably at right guard with Mark Lewinsky, who's solid, but will have to fight off the charge from second-year player Danny Pinter, who's a bit more athletic and has tremendous upside. Keep an eye out for Carter O'Donnell, the second-year player out of Alberta, who was on the Colts practice squad last year as a guy who the staff really feels like could provide good swing depth up front. Where the Colts are best along the defensive line is at defensive tackle. DeForest Buckner is coming off of an all-pro season, one that saw him lead the team in sacks with 9.5. Grover Stewart has gotten better every season and is one of the better interior defensive linemen in the division and arguably the most underrated. Now, they have good depth here as well with Antoine Woods, and all the questions, however, is about the defensive ends. We talked about that earlier, and can they get consistent pressure from this group? Drafting a quick twitch Kwity Paye in round 1 out of Michigan is supposed to help answer those questions, but Paye's twitchiness doesn't always particularly lead to extreme productivity. Taquan Lewis has been a solid contributor, but not necessarily the difference maker that they expected him to be. I actually believe that Al-Qaeda Muhammad out of Miami has been their most productive edge guy and serves well in a situational role, but this will be a pivotal year for both Kamoko Toure and Ben Banagu, both of whom will be expected to step up and produce this season. To help with this unit, the Colts brought in free agent Isaac Rochelle from the Los Angeles Chargers, who could also find himself starting some games this year up front. Darius Leonard is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. The two-time Pro Bowler and two-time All-Pro once again led the way for the Colts backers, continuing to make impactful plays each and every week. Now, the goal is for them to find a Robin to his Batman. Right now, Bobby Okereke has been solid and is looking to take that next step in his game this year. Zaire Franklin will compete with Matthew Adams for the other starting outside linebacker spot, and I would count out a guy like Jordan Glasgow making a case for the role as well. But I'm interested to see what type of return Sky Moore can make as he opted out the 2020 season and gives them more speed on the inside. Last season, the Colts ranked 20th in pass defense and are obviously looking to improve that number, having Kenny Moore and Xavier Rhodes, who was re-signed this offseason, on the roster is a great place to start. The hope is that Rock Ya-Sin, the third-year corner out of Temple, can flatline his play and help elevate the unit as a whole. Ya-Sin has been a bit up and down in his career and is entering a pivotal season for him as well. Marvell Tell is back after opting out last season. He and TJ Carey will compete for reserve roles on the back end. Safety is a spot where you can expect some growth this year. I really like Julian Blackmon, the second-year player out of Utah, as he made some plays last season, and with a full year in the system and acclimation to the pro game, I would expect him to play a lot faster in 2021. Kyrie Willis has gotten better during his time in Indy and will look to hold off both guys named Sean Davis. Now, the elder Davis is a veteran from Pittsburgh that can play virtually anywhere in the secondary, while the younger one is a rookie out of Florida who I really like. That was one of the top safety prospects in the draft class that brings a lot of explosiveness to the position and is extremely impactful upon contact. George Odom, who is an all-pro special teamer, provides good ability within the regular defense when given an opportunity. And also, we should see improved play in the secondary from Isaiah Rodgers, who's a standout returnman. But I like the competitiveness he showed in that game, in the playoff game against Buffalo. One of the major reasons for optimism is the fact that they have a strong run game led by Jonathan Taylor, who should go over 1,200 yards this season, and they have great depth with Nyheim Hines and Marlon Mack coming back from injury. So this is a strong run game that you can build an offense around. They also have top-tier playmakers on both sides of the ball. Nyheim Hines, you talk about Michael Pittman Jr., you look on defense, you got Darius Leonard, you have Kenny Moore, who's arguably the best nickel guy in the NFL, Xavier Rhodes. Names go on and on, DeForest Buckner. So when you have top tier playmakers on both sides of the ball, it helps you be optimistic. And they have an excellent offensive line and great interior defensive line. So again, you talked about Buckner, but you also look at Grover Stewart and what he's been able to do since he's gotten into the NFL. And we know about that offensive line. 3 of the 5 starters up front are legit all-pro type caliber players. So you win at the point of attack, you're going to win a lot of games. A cause for concern would be if Wentz can't recapture that magic that we saw in 2017 or just the stable play we saw him have toward the back end of 2019. Because if he's playing like he did in 2020 or in 2018, it can be an issue that can hold back this offense. And if the investment in the pass rush doesn't pay off, we talked about how they invested a lot in that position, doubling down in 2 drafts, 18 and also in 2021. If those players don't improve their play and that pass rush doesn't come to fruition, this defense could be shorthanded once again. Taking a look at some training camp quick hits, and we'll start with camp surprises. Offensively, the wide receivers Mike Strachan, the rookie 7th round pick out of Charleston, and Tyler Vaughn's the undrafted rookie free agent. Look for those guys to surprise and earn their way up that depth chart. They're too talented to keep off the field in some capacity. And on the defensive side of the football, Sean Davis, I talked about it earlier, how he's one of my favorite defensive prospects at that position. He is tremendous coming downhill in the run game, great alley defender, but also has the burst and explosiveness to drive on the football and make plays. Rookie impact player on offense, I'm looking at Colin Granson out of SMU. The move tight end, the H-back type, will find the role and the way to get on the field and be productive. I think he can be a good safety valve in addition to what they have at that position for Carson Wentz. And Kwity Paye, he'll get every opportunity to start on the edge for Indianapolis. And I do think we'll see him be productive enough to where it'll help the rest of that defensive line as a whole. Looking at some X factors, and on offense is an obvious one. It's Carson Wentz. If he can play like we saw him do in 2017 and also in 2019 toward the back end of the year, this offense won't miss a beat. And Rock Ya-Sin, we spoke about it a few minutes ago, how his play has to flatline and stabilize. And if it does, this secondary will be something to reckon with in the division. Some breakout players you look at on offense, Danny Pinter. I kind of alluded to it earlier about him pushing for that right guard job. I love the growth that he made transitioning from tight end to offensive lineman and now going from that college offensive lineman to a pro offensive lineman. I think he's ready to make a move up that depth chart. And Julian Blackmon, I spoke about it earlier. Again, a guy that was making plays last year but was still kind of hesitant. Now he's going to be playing faster, understands the scheme and what's expected of him. So look for him to make even more plays this upcoming season. The road to the Super Bowl for the Colts goes as follows. Number one, we spoke about it all show. Wentz has to play up to his potential. That's an easy one. And if the defense finds a consistent pass rush, which is another issue we've spoken about all throughout the show, they can be a problem. And the secondary tightens up and strengthens, finding that depth at corner and at safety and allowing these guys to be interchangeable parts. Then the Colts can not only get to the playoffs, but they have the roster to get all the way to Los Angeles. I have the Colts finishing second in the AFC South. This is a very good team on both sides of the ball. Straight point of attack play is where you want it to be. They can run the football. They tackle well on defense. They have good pieces at wide receiver and an improving secondary. So I do think this is one of the more solid teams we'll see in the AFC, enough to where they can get back to the playoffs in 2021. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating.
It's D-U-E, you tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.